around Acts 2, on the day of Pentecost, when the Holy Spirit came upon the disciples, and they went around Jerusalem, and they were preaching in the different languages, right? Right, with God at the center of the government, right? And that's where all their laws come from. Just like in the Vatican, there's that one. Just like in the Vatican and in Iran, like today, all right? And then, so I'm just gonna keep going forward here. So then, some Jews didn't even want a king, right? They just started wanting to push Rome out, right? So then we get to the Pharisees, right? This is one of those three groups there. Political factions, like the Pharisees, they have a strong commitment to the law of God and strong belief in one God. Regard for the oral traditions, they're very traditionalist to the scriptures, right? The law of Moses. And no one recognized that picture on there? You see who that is? Yeah. It's Cameron. Because he played a Pharisee in the Chosen. So I had a different picture there, but I was like, you know what? This would be more fun. I'll put a picture of Cameron on there. And he's giving that scowl like the Pharisees would give to Jesus, right? What's another faction here, religio-political faction in Israel, besides the Pharisees? Sadducees, right? So the Sadducees, they want Judaism centered. Let me catch up here. Centered around the temple and not the law of Moses. So they don't really hold any traditions of other religious leaders. They had a more open-minded relationship with the Romans, okay? And why are they called Sadducees? Or they were sad. You see, well, why were they sad? Yeah, like in Mark 12:18, right? They say that there was no resurrection, right? How sad. How sad. Very sad. What was the last group, though? There's a third group in here. The Zealots. Yeah, the Zealots. So this is Z from The Chosen. I got him up there, too. They wanted the Messiah to kind of be like more militant and drive out the Romans. You guys are back. I thought you guys were camping. Too hot, yeah. 110 is pretty hot, isn't it? They wanted this Messiah to bring about the glory that David had. And so they are willing to use force, like actual physical force, to get rid of the Romans, right? But so every Jew longed for the son of David to come and restore Israel. Each held their own opinion on what this Messiah would do, what it would look like, okay, what he would look like. So he would restore the law of Moses, or he would restore worship to the land, or he would drive out the Romans and bring about a new Jewish kingdom like David had. We all know that that's not the purpose, right, of the Messiah. So, yet in this nation has lots of tension in there, right? We have the church born during this time. A lot of tension between these different groups. Every party in Israel did hear some kind of rumor, right, of a Messiah coming back. But did the Messiah meet expectations of these three groups? No, right? No. So, in fact, this Messiah, Bobby, can you go back there? In fact, the Messiah had instructed them to actually pay taxes to Rome, right? Like in, let's see what it says here. In Matthew 22, right, 15 through 22, that's what Jesus talks about. He says, so give back to Caesar what is Caesar's and give God what's God's, right? He actually rejected the temple practices of the Sadducees. He threw out those money changers, right? I think in the next season of The Chosen, we're going to see this happen when he gets into the temple. I think he's going to see that and overturn the tables. So that was, come on now. Click on it. Thank you. Matthew 21, right there, it says, it is written, he said, to them, my house will be called a house of prayer, but you are making it a den of robbers, right? And then he did not, so that was for the Pharisees and Sadducees. He did not, that was for, he did not uphold the law the way that the Pharisees wanted, right? He said that he was the law of Moses, right? So I have a clip here from The Chosen. I'm not going to watch this whole clip. I don't have time for it. But this is referenced in Matthew 5:12 through 17 through 20, and then Luke 24 through 44. Yeah, go ahead and just click on it. Click on the. Okay. You sure? Yeah, if you could skip to about 7:20 or so.
Only a Gentile, a Syrian soldier, an enemy of the Lord's people. But he was so desperate, he trusted Elisha, and his leprosy was cleansed. You may be the chosen seed of Abraham. You may be the people of the covenants, but that will not bring you my salvation. If you cannot accept that you are spiritually poor and captive in the same way that a Gentile woman and a Syrian leper recognize their need, if you do not realize that you need a year of the Lord's favor, then I cannot save you. Who do you think you are?
This is what Hannah talked about. That he even called himself the Messiah.
Are you claiming to be the Messiah? Or are you merely claiming to speak for the Lord as a prophet?
Yes.
You are a false prophet.
Whoa, that is quite a thing to say. Jesus, maybe we should leave.
Lazarus, you're his friend. You cannot be involved. You know what the law of Moses says.
We are all his friends, Aaron. We cannot say things like this.
Jesus, stand up at once.
Rabbi, please. Rafi, come with Jesus and me. We will leave, and you can all continue the service.
Rabbi Benjamin has asserted false prophecy, and I cannot argue.
You said you saw the miracle.
He's saying only he can save
He
us.
did not use those words.
It's what I meant.
Jesus, you're not helping.
Stop. He's saying we are not the holy ones chosen.
Now, he did not say that.
In words, a book of Moses. But a prophet who presumes to speak a word in my name that I have not commanded him to speak, that same prophet shall die.
Rabbi Benjamin, I beg of you, not this.
Lazarus, it's fine.
Jesus, they're going to...
Yes.
Jesus, if you do not renounce your words, we will have no choice but to follow the law of Moses.
I am the law of Moses.
You can stop it. Anyone saw that scene in this series? I thought that was a big mic drop. I am the law of Moses, right? Pretty cool scene. Anyways, I wanted to show that because obviously that was actual footage, of back in the day. Anyway, so this, so if you don't know this scene, they're leading him out, and they're pretty much going to throw him off a cliff to kill him. But he kind of had that. It was kind of like a scene where he's like, "Hey, if you don't have any sin, then yeah, toss me over," kind of thing, right? So this put Jesus at odds with many followers. With many religious leaders in Israel. But the church is established in this scene of a lot of tension and rejection, right? So even when the church is being built, is being started, there's a lot of pushback against it, right? So describe some of the tensions that existed in Israel during the birth of Jesus. What are some of those tensions? Sorry? Herod, yeah. Yeah, we have Herod, even with the birth of Jesus, right? Trying to deal with that. What else? Jew versus Roman, yeah. Sadducees versus Pharisees, right? Zealots pretty much versus everybody. In a way. Yeah. Go ahead. You have one? Okay. So yeah, there's a lot of tensions here. So that was getting in the way, right, of the church developing. But I mean, it's going to happen. Why? It's God's plan, right? It's going to happen whether the world likes it or not, right? So, true or false? Jews lived outside of Jerusalem. True, right? Yeah, true. So they were actually scattered all around that known world because of their exiles from Assyria and Babylon. This actually was really beneficial to the growth of the church because Paul stopped at many Jewish synagogues, right? Even though he was the apostle of the Gentiles, because he himself was a Gentile, right? He still stopped in these synagogues, which would have raised tensions, right? So then the synagogues ensured that the people read and learned the Old Testament, creating an initial point for the message of Jesus. So Paul and the other apostles used the scriptures to show that Jesus had actually fulfilled the prophecies, right? He didn't just make it up, like we kind of saw in that scene, right? Or they thought he was a false prophet. He was like, no, I am the law of Moses. I have fulfilled it, right? So these synagogues actually the places where they would meet, right, and talk about these things in worship. So the spread of the Jews around various cities in the world actually really pushed Paul's mission, right, all throughout the Roman Empire. Okay. So besides the Jews being spread around the world, right, what is another factor that allowed the gospel to spread quickly throughout the Roman world? Relative peace, okay. Yeah. Language, yeah, we're going to cover the language first, though. Yeah, the language, right? So this is thanks to Alexander, right? He actually helped spread the Greek language and Greek culture around this world, so it's a commonly spoken language, right? And the scriptures were translated into Greek. You remember who did that? Who translated the Hebrew text into Greek? Huh? Ptolemy, yeah, Ptolemy, who was one of the right-hand guys, or one of the many guys who followed Alexander, right? So these are just actually little bits and pieces of Torah scrolls that are back in Egypt, and these are all from Deuteronomy, various chapters in Deuteronomy. So that's all right. Yeah, teacher voice about to pop up. So some major factors that propelled the gospel, right, are one, that the Jews and their synagogues around the world, those are just ruins of an old synagogue. We have the Greek language, and obviously the Roman Empire itself, right? The Roman Empire didn't rise by accident, right? It did not rise by accident. They were actually
Say it again, because I can't hear you.
all right. So they were very intentional on the spread of their empire. And one, they had really good infrastructure like roads, right? They not only helped the Roman armies get here and there actually pretty quickly, it actually helped, just like Carlin said, with trade, right, and commerce, okay? And they actually made a lot of safe waterways that they could sail to and trade with throughout different parts of the Mediterranean Sea. Okay, this is just a picture improvements in travel. Its policies regarding religion often led to negative pressures on the spread of the church. Like the Greeks, when the Romans conquered lands, they often mixed together the practices of local religions with those of other conquered peoples in order to help assimilate the newly vanquished people into the Roman Empire. Okay. So back then, the people typically worshipped like a god or gods that their family did, right? This was before the Greeks and the Romans rose up. And the way that they would really only change their practices, religious practices, was if they moved to a whole different city, because that city probably worshiped a different deity. So they would kind of add that to their practices. But the Greco-Roman system actually allowed freedom of religion. So they could choose which god or gods, notice it's little g, right? Little g, to worship, and like I said, even mix their practices. So how could the Greco-Roman religious system impact the first Christians? What do you guys think? Michael, you're thinking pretty deeply there. Again? Sorry. Okay, so it would be accepted possibly, right? Okay, for their beliefs. Any other ideas? Austin, you got something? Go ahead, Michael. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So if they turn to Christianity, they're no longer buying the idols, right? That they would put in their houses and whatnot, right? So that's bad for business, right? Austin.
Yeah, along those same lines, I was thinking more, the things that were coming to mind were more how the first Christians were impacting the Greco-Roman religious system.
So it was going the opposite way, yeah. So yeah, the Christian religion is actually impacting the old Greco-Roman way, right? Yeah. Yeah. Peer pressure. Something different. What's wrong with these today? It's me. Maybe I'll hold up here. All right. Well, they're going to reject all the other gods, right? Just like Michael was saying, they're not going to buy their idols and stuff. But they will not reject God, right? The God of Israel. They refused to merge the worship of Jesus with other religions. Okay? So over time, Christians began to be persecuted for their exclusive nature of other worship, right? So another factor of Christian persecution was the emergence of the emperor worship, right? Seeing the Roman leader as a god, right? So it was regarded as like a test of loyalty to the empire, right? And if you did not burn incense when you were at an image of the emperor, they saw that as treason, and that was punishable by death. So, but Christians still paid their taxes to Rome, all right, which you think would mean the most to them because money. Okay, but we'll see that this persecution actually did not stop the spread of Christianity. It actually did the opposite. And if you were a guy and you were in Don's class on Wednesday night, he talked about all this, right? How these non-biblical people help spread the gospel. You were gonna say something? No, okay. So how did the Roman Empire negatively and positively impact the emergence of the church? Yeah, negatively through persecution. Okay, so persecution was actually both positive and negative, right? Obviously negative because you are having a physical impact on this population, but when they're being persecuted, whether they're thrown to lions in the Colosseum, or I mean, we'll see other versions of what happened to them, but when people saw this and they refused to renounce who God was, right? And they're just saying, you know, I'm just going to take this punishment, that actually helped change people's hearts, saying, I want to be a part of that right there. Yes, Michael. Yeah.
Would have wanted to put Christianity and everything to death, but it was the Romans who had the authority over the region, not as much the Jews. So because the Romans, like we had discussed, they have those kind of different views on acceptance or persecution of different religious beliefs. They kind of gave early Christianity a more neutral playing field than it would have had otherwise.
Okay, so if it was up to the Jews, right, it would have stopped a long time ago. But since they weren't really in charge, right, the Romans were. They kind of set that, like you said, that neutral. Sorry. Well, yeah, God was, but I mean, as our, physically at the time, right? It's since they didn't. Even with Jesus, it's like he didn't do anything wrong. Pontius Pilate, he's not doing anything wrong in our laws, so I'm giving him to you, right? So since they did kind of set that neutral playing field on religion, right? That helped as well. All right. So the message of Jesus, the Messiah, spread really quickly around the world, and the threat of death didn't even stop it, right? You want to join the cool club, right? The cool kids. So God wanted his message to spread around the world, right? That's in Matthew 28, 18 through 20. I'll just go ahead and read it real quick. It says, "Then Jesus came to them and said, 'All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always to the very end of the age.'" So we know that as the Great Commission, right? Great Commission. So we see the growth of the church throughout Acts, right? So like in Acts 8, we see that that believers are scattered throughout Judea, Samaria, and even Ethiopia. And here's your Bible verse for it right there. Got it? On that, so that you can see what I have underlined there, right? It said they were scattered throughout Judea, and Samaria. And then a little bit further in chapter 8, this is when Philip meets that Ethiopian eunuch, right? And he teaches him about the gospel. Obviously, he goes back home and spreads that around, right? We also have in Acts 9, right? Due to persecution, believers are scattered as far as Damascus, okay? So this is when Saul was still breathing out murderous threats against the Lord's disciples. He went to the highest priest and asked him to for the letters to the synagogues in Damascus, right? So that if he found any there who belonged to the way, okay, he might take them prisoners to Jerusalem, right? In Acts 11, it says that the believers made their way to Phoenicia and Cyprus and Antioch, okay? You see right there. That broke out when Stephen was killed, traveled as far as Phoenicia, Cyprus, and Antioch, okay? And then the last one here that I have here is in Acts 13. Paul brings the message to the island of Cyprus, several cities in Asia Minor and Greece. Later, he even helps share the gospel in Rome, where the church had already been established. So we can see up here in verse 1, it mentions the church in Antioch. In verse 4, it mentions that he went down to Seleucia, and from there to Cyprus, right? In 5, he arrived at Salamis. Okay. In 6, it says he went to Paphos, which is a Greek island. Okay. From Paphos, he sailed to Perga in Pamphylia. Okay, and where John left from to go back to Jerusalem. Then he went to Pisidian Antioch, and then Iconium there in verse 51. So they're all over the place, right? They are all over the place. So Acts 13:47 says that, "For this is what the Lord has commanded us. I have made you a light for the Gentiles, that you may bring salvation to the ends of the earth." This is what they were called to do, right? The Great Commission. Not just for Jews, but also the Gentiles, which made the Jews angry, right? We can go a little bit longer here. So it didn't take long for the church to make its way across the Roman Empire. Even merchants, sailors, military people who had heard the message and trusted the message of Christ took it on their travels, and they would share it with other people, right? This is kind of like how the Library of Alexandria grew, right? Because all the sailors, all the scribes would ask for their texts on the ships, and they would transcribe them, right? Christians fleeing persecution would keep sharing it as well, okay? And then believers applied the ethics of the gospel to every aspect of life. So they even established hospitals. They would use it to promote human rights and care for the poor and the neglected. Overall, right, what they're trying to do is they're trying to make a difference, right? Make this world a little bit better place. A little bit better place. We'll probably have to stop here because you can't really talk about the expansion of the church without Paul. So we're going to get more into Paul next week. And I think I have, 2 more weeks, right? 2 more weeks, and I made it through about 20 slides, 30 slides, so that's good. All right. Thank you guys. We got about 2 more weeks left of this.